time for a bit more Tiger Cubbery. I've had this engine running a few times now with the ignition system connected up to the battery charger to provide the energy for the sparks, while I've messed around trying to get some decent output from the alternator, which has so far eluded me. And what the plan was to run probably batteryless. I've got no lights or anything on this thing. I just wanted a good 12 volt supply to a combined regulator rectifier unit. This one actually I don't think is that brilliant. I will probably be investing in what's called a Boya power box, because I've tried this one on other bikes, and although it regulates, it seems to jump in a little bit too early, and we only seem to get perhaps in a region of about 9 volts out of it once it cuts in. But before it cuts in, I've had good charge coming through, and I've had it lighting this 12 volt bulb pretty brightly. But I haven't been able to kickstart the machine directly off the alternator going through the regulator rectifier and onto the ignition circuit. I've always had to have the battery charger in circuit as well, and the best I could get was to have the engine running and be able to switch the battery charger off, and the engine would carry on running but with a misfire, and once it stopped you wouldn't get it going again. So I knew I had to get some more volts from somewhere, and it just occurred to me that the first alternator stator that I tried on it was a supposedly new, unused one, but a bit of an oddball one in that it had 4 wires and the windings looked a bit different. So I dug out an alternator that I for a little while suspected of not being much good on my Tiger Cub replica, but when I changed it for another one I found that the output was just the same, and basically my troubles with that one were cured when I fitted a battery in circuit, as I've discussed previously. So theoretically there's nothing wrong with this stator here, but I fitted that one to this machine and still got rather disappointing output from it, and certainly couldn't get the engine going at kicking over speed. And it just suddenly dawned on me, this is something I know but I hadn't thought about. But when I built this engine years ago, I think I just fitted whatever alternator rotor was on it when I stripped it and put it back on. But along the years, on Triumph Tiger Cubs and on a few other machines as well, different diameter rotors were used, and the diameters increased in more recent years. And the rotor that I've got on that crankshaft there is of a smaller diameter than this one here, by about 1/4 of an inch. This is the size rotor that should go with that alternator. So I've had a way too large clearance between the diameter of the rotor and the inner diameter of the stator. So I'm going to swap rotors now. I'm going to put this one on. I've checked the magnets, they're all strong, so this one can come off, this one will go on, and I'll almost bet that that will solve the issue. But there's not much in it. Like I say, perhaps about 1/4 of an inch if that, but you really want the magnetic poles running as close to the coils as possible, all but touching them. And when you're kicking an engine over at kicking speed, that slight difference in diameter could and probably will make all the difference. So I'm going to put this rotor on, and I'm pretty confident that'll solve the problem, and I won't need the battery charger hooked up to get this thing started anymore, and it should run nicely. But like I say, I think I'm going to invest in a known quality make of regulator rectifier to use instead of that one once I've done the alternator trick. So that's my next step. The rear mudguard is away at the painters, and that'll be back probably on Monday, and we'll have this thing looking almost complete and probably able to move under its own power, I hope, in any case.